Okay, right. I'm going to do this in hopefully one take because it's super awkward talking to a camera by yourself. And I hope you have your shirt tucked in, Mr. Rodney, and your uniform is smart. Okay, so you've got Mr. Hickman to thank for this because I was giving him a good old Skype the other day. And he said, oh, wouldn't it be a good idea if you gave your form class a video and let them know how you're getting on, instead of writing you a letter, which I thought was quite a nice idea. So, I've got a couple of things I'm going to talk to you about whilst I've been away. Okay, so, first stop was Bali. So, I was talking to you all about my trip all the time, and you know that I was going on a holiday to Bali in between England and New Zealand, which was amazing. One of the most incredible places I've ever been to. Just super cultural, sunny, hot, loads of beaches, lots of cool stuff to do. Whilst I was there, I released a turtle from a sanctuary, which was sweet. Heather and I both released a turtle from a sanctuary. And you should see a little picture of my guy coming up now. I released them a little bit too far away from the ocean and sort of flipped him upside down and had to like pick him back up and put him in the ocean again because he sort of caned himself on the sand. But he made it. Hopefully he's now a great big turtle swimming around in Indonesia having a great old time. And we spent one day just... like the whole day was just going out and touring the island. So we were seeing all kinds of temples and going to all these mad places. And we got a taxi at like 8 a.m. was it? And had the whole taxi to take us around the whole entire island for the whole day. And we got back to the hotel about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. And that cost us about 40 quid. So it's like super, super cheap when we got there. And just had an absolute blast. Apart from the 2 earthquakes that we had. So the first one, we were in bed and it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and Heather's like shaking me saying, Alex, get up, and the whole room is shaking and I'm still half asleep and I'm like, oh, what's going on? Had no idea. And just felt the whole room shaking. And it was only until I woke up properly that I'd realised what had happened. And there were aftershocks coming after that, and we were stressing out big time. But when we walked down to get breakfast in the hotel, everyone was like, oh yeah, it's whatever, like it's just an earthquake, it happens all the time. I think we were just being a bit, because we'd never experienced one before, we were a little bit scared about it. But that was a 6.8 on the Richter scale, and if you look at the Richter scale, it goes all the way up to 9, and it was a 6.8, so it was a massive one, on right next to the island where we were meant to be staying. So I was talking to you about staying on the Gili Islands, like the tiny islands off Bali. We turned out we couldn't actually stay there because we couldn't get a boat to them because the seas were too rough when we landed. So it was super lucky that we didn't. And then the second earthquake came like 5 or 6 days later, and that was in the evening, and that was a 7 on the Richter scale, and it was much shallower as well. So like the doors were shaking off the hinges, and it was bizarre, very, very bizarre. And you can hear the earth underneath you shaking and rumbling around. It was mental. But other than that, yeah, apart from the 2 earthquakes, it was amazing. Like if you ever get a chance to go to Bali or Indonesia, absolutely do so. And after Bali, we obviously came to New Zealand. Had a terrible flight from Bali to Melbourne, but then Melbourne to New Zealand was great. And the first month that we were here, we were put up in a motel. So luckily, Heather's hospital paid for us to live in a motel for the first month. And that first month was just really, really, really difficult. In terms of like settling into a new country and a new culture, and both of us starting new jobs and all of these stresses and trying to live out of a suitcase in a motel, that kind of thing. It was just really, really tough. And I think if it wasn't for Heather, I reckon I probably would have been booking a flight home. So she's looking at me funny now. I'm super glad that I came here with her, because otherwise it would have been, oh, sorry about that. It would have been really difficult to settle in properly. I'll just put my phone on silent, sorry guys. But after the first month, we felt a little bit more settled, and it was just that we'd left like parents and almost our entire sort of support network at home, and they were on total opposite time zones, and it was just a bit nuts. That it was just tough. But after that, we really, really settled in, and we moved into our flat, which is awesome. Like it's a beautiful flat. It's right in the middle of town. So we just have to go out the front door, and whatever we want, it's there. For the pizza fans, Domino's Pizza, you can get a Domino's for $5, which in English pounds, £2.50. So loads of Domino's. And I'll show you a little clip of looking outside. So I'll go that now. Okay, and this is the view outside my flat, just before the sun sets, right in the middle of town. And that guy right there is called Whale Island, and that's where like orcas and dolphins and all that kind of good stuff swims and hangs about. Well, okay, so I started at school, so I landed on the 8th of August, and I was in school on the 9th, and like, to be honest, I don't even remember what they said to me that day. I was so jet lagged, but I went in, and it's super casual, like the dress code is super casual, and I went in my nice suit, and they must have thought I was some sort of inspector or something, because no one else was wearing a suit. Everyone was looking at me sideways. All the kids were thinking, who the hell is this guy? And it was really weird, and they've started calling me Gareth Southgate, and after that I'll take it, because I've been called worse. But I started teaching PE and maths. So obviously, I wanted to teach more PE, which is great. I got that, but I also had to teach maths as well. And the students didn't take to me well at all at first. So the classes that I was taking over, I was their 3rd teacher of the year, because their other teachers had started and just thought, nah, I've had enough, I'm leaving. So I was the 3rd teacher of the year, and I'd landed right smack in the middle of exam season. So there's all this crazy stuff going on at school. And the worst thing about it was that they'd just ignore me. Like they wouldn't respond or shout back at me or be rude or whatever. They just ignore me and just pretend that I wasn't even in the room. I could do all your teacher tricks like counting down 3, 2, 1, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. To the point where I probably could have danced naked in front of them, and they still wouldn't have realised that I was in the room. But it took a lot of work and a lot of persistence, and most of them came good towards the end, which is good. So I ended on a really positive note. So since we've been here, Heather and I bought a camper van to travel around in whilst we're here, and I'll put a picture of that up now. And it's awesome. Like the bed in the back is super comfortable. You can put kayaks on the top. You can put bikes on the back. It's mega. And we sort of started doing little weekends away as soon as we could. So for Heather's birthday in September, we travelled to Rotorua, which is an area of it's just a great big long line of volcanoes basically, and lakes that used to be volcanoes have exploded but are now lakes. And because it's super volcanic, there's loads of natural hot pools that you can go and sit in. So you can go there's a place called Kerosene Creek, which is a river but it's like 38 degrees in the water. It's like a jacuzzi and you sit in it and it's amazing. Sorry, I'm just flicking through my paper to make sure I don't miss anything out. So our next trip is to Taupo, which is New Zealand's largest lake. And I'll put a few pictures up here for you to see, but we went to see Hooker Falls, which is a narrow stretch of river where I think it's like 200,000 litres per second is the flow rate of the river. We went to see a big dam. What was the name of the dam? Can't remember. Mega though, like you hear the sirens and they let the water flow through and it's unbelievable. And we went mountain biking to the dam, which was cool. And no, it's not Tarawera. But on the lake itself, so we borrowed kayaks from school, which how cool is that? So you can get borrowed kayaks and mountain bikes all from school for nothing. You just take them away for a weekend, and how cool is that? And we kayaked out. There's some rock carvings in the lake that are only accessible by kayak. So the indigenous people of New Zealand, the Maoris, they have carved like don't know what it is, like a face or whatever it's meant to represent. It's a face in the rock. It's a picture now. And we went to visit it and it was amazing. So that was Taupo. And then it got super busy for us. So we were like sort of coming to the end of the school year and Heather was busy at work. So we didn't do much between then. But in the second to last week of school, they've got something similar to Enrichment Week. So they've got Camp Week. And I was really, really fortunate enough to be asked to go to the Abel Tasman National Park. So there's me, there was another teacher who was also from England, and he's like a Bear Grylls beast kind of guy. And we flew down from Wellington in a tiny little 4-seater plane to the bottom end of the track. We got dropped off at the end of the track, and we had to carry like 4 days worth of food, carry our tents, carry all of our kit with us, and do a 60-kilometre hike back to the start over 4 days. Sort of possibly similar to D of E, those who are doing D of E, which I hope most of you are doing. And it was just amazing. You can see some of the pictures that I'm putting up as you're watching this, but it was unbelievable. Like we saw penguins, we saw seals, didn't sleep for like the whole week. But whatever, you just deal with it and get on with it, don't you? And now I've just broken up for my summer holidays, so I didn't have a summer holiday. I just went straight back into work after Bali. And now because it's Southern Hemisphere, I'm in my summer holidays now, so I'm not back into school until the very end of January. And over the Christmas holes, or the summer holes, Heather and I are doing like a big road trip around the South Island. And I'll put a map of the places that we're going to that you can see on the screen. And we're just super looking forward to it. Really excited to get around the South Island and visit loads of cool stuff. And I'll probably do another video telling you about that. So I hope all of you are doing really, really well. I know that Mr. Phelan is incredibly safe hands, so I know that he's looking after you really well. And lots of love to you all. I miss you all like crazy. And Merry Christmas. And a Happy New Year. Way! Forgot to tell you. Heather's just reminded me. So the first thing that we did, or one of the first things, no, it was the first thing that we did. We went to watch the All Blacks versus Australia up in Auckland, and it was mega. So cool. Like, the bucket list thing ticked off for me there, because you know how mad about rugby I am. And it was like a record scoring against Australia as well. It was amazing. And Damien McKenzie, one of New Zealand's best players, even managed to get his picture taken with his hero. So